Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to JTV today. We're doing another live stream. It's something that I really enjoy doing because it gives me the chance to hear from you, to interact with you, and to get your thoughts, especially if you are in America right now. If you're an American voter, you're on the ground in America, it would be really good to hear from you and hear your thoughts on the impact of this momentous occasion. It's really a massive, massive moment. What Donald Trump managed to achieve today, not just to win by a significant margin, but also by, getting the popular vote as well. I don't think a Republican has managed to do that since 2004. The polls seem to be extremely tight, and yet, of course, that was not what turned out to be the case in reality. It's actually is a bit of a Trump landslide, one might even say. He has clearly shown that he's got a mandate. He's had a very significant mandate from the American people. And there's many, many reasons for that. Many reasons indeed. And as I say, if you're in America right now, it would be really good to hear from you and get your thoughts on what has happened and what this means. And I know there's going to be, there will be a vast array of opinions from JTV viewers about President-elect Trump. There's going to be people who focus primarily on what this means for Jewish issues and what it means for Israel and the war. There'll be people who have concerns more domestically. I think we're all very familiar with the various debates around pro and anti-Trump, and that's not the focus of this video. The focus of this is what this actually means for the Middle East and trying to get to grips with understanding that. And as part of doing that, I found someone that was especially insightful on this. It was actually Einat Wolf. Now, Einat Wolf has for many decades been on the progressive side of Israeli politics. So wouldn't typically be seen as a classic Trump voter or whatever. And we've had her on JTV a few times. But she's analysing things purely from the perspective of what did Trump achieve in his previous term and what's likely to potentially happen in future terms. One thing that we certainly see is the case is that whether people like Trump or dislike him, they do all say that he has an aura of unpredictability and just prepared to make really bold decisions. And when you're going up against despots, when you're going up against leaders that are equally, prepared to do bold things if they can have if they're given the space to do so, it can be very useful to have a leader of America that is also prepared to make unpredictable moves, shall we say. But this is what Dr. Einat Wolf said. She said, a wider Trump presidency might turn around the situation in the region. She said, during the years 2016 to 2020, I struggled to explain to American audiences that from the very narrow and selfish perspective of an Israeli, and putting aside everything that was going on in the US, the Trump administration policies in the Middle East were nothing short of perfect. They included two key pillars: basing the American exit from the Middle East on support for Israel and Gulf allies rather than Iran, and, more to my expertise, sending a clear message to Palestinians and other Arab nations that enough is enough. They need to start coming to terms with Israel's past victories in 1948 and 1967. This second message was conveyed through a series of important policies, from defunding UNRWA, closing down the PLO office in DC, removing some PA funding, recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital, and recognizing the Golan Heights as sovereign Israeli territory. Now, we have to say, whatever your view is on President Trump, whatever your view is on him, if you are a supporter of Israel, you simply cannot deny these are all highly significant moves, and in a very positive step. And the fact is, the vast majority of Israelis are in support of President Trump because of this fact. There's all kinds of banners at the moment all throughout Israel celebrating Trump's win. Then Dr. Wolf continues. She says this second message was also augmented through a peace plan that let the Palestinians know that they can have a state, sovereignty, and economic prosperity if they actually pursue it. To which, true to form, they responded with no, no, and 1,000 times no. And it'll be very interesting now. I do wonder what approach will President-elect Trump go for moving forward with regard to the Israel-Palestine conflict. Will he still pursue trying to find some kind of route for Palestinian state, which they turned down? Or maybe he'll get the memo and understand this was never really about statehood for them. It's more just about a plan to try and usurp the Jews. Maybe he won't even focus on the Palestinian issue anymore. He'll just be more focused on the wider Arab and Middle Eastern conflicts and pursuing peace there. I don't know. I wonder if you have any insights. Please let me know, because I'm not sure what his plan is going to be moving forward on that front. She continues, Dr. Wolf continues, it's no coincidence then that the Trump administration ended its first 4 terms with the 4 peace agreements between Israel and the Arab Islamic countries and a momentum for more. By the way, I'd also note that David Friedman, the former American ambassador to Israel that Trump appointed, has come out with a new book called One Jewish State, where he's actually now dismissing this idea of a Palestinian state because they've shown they're not interested in that. And he's thinking actually what's in the best interests of quality of life for people, in the best interests of security, in the best interests of safety, in the best interests of truth. He is proposing there should be one Jewish state from the river to the sea. Doesn't mean that Arabs can't live in a Jewish state, but it will be under Jewish sovereignty. And let's understand that that's, from a quality of life standpoint, Arabs fare far better under Israel than they do, not just in Palestinian territories, but throughout all the Middle East. And secondly, it's fair in terms of the truth. The Arabs have shown they're not actually, that the Palestinian cause is not about a unique, distinct national self-determination kind of cause. If it was, then why would it be that they, between 48 to 67, didn't rally against Egypt and Jordan for occupying them? Why would it be that if the Arabs would have won in 48, they wouldn't have created a Palestinian state? All the various Arab countries would each have a chunk of the land. They've shown that they're not really interested in that. And so Arabs are not indigenous to this land. They don't come from this land. The Jewish people do. They've always maintained their presence there. They've always been prepared to divide up the land, given that there's been no sovereign Arab state there, but they recognize there are Arabs living there. The Arabs have never been prepared to do the same. So given that there's no serious self-determination cause, it's just about trying to usurp the Jewish state, given that quality of life would be better for Arabs under Jewish sovereignty, and given that the truth is, historically, and from an indigeneity perspective, and from a religious perspective, and from a legal perspective, by the way, the land belongs to the Jewish people. And in fact, Jordan was the original Palestinian state because that was part of Palestine as well. And the British, as a way to try and appease the Arabs, said, okay, we'll create a Palestinian state for you with Jordan. So you have the 3/4 of the territory that can go to you as an Arab state. But that still didn't suffice. There's still 100 times more land in the Middle East for Arabs than there are for Jews, and yet they aren't satisfied with the Jews having a tiny little sliver of land. Will Trump recognize it? Will he understand this and understand that that really lies at the heart of all of this? We will see. So Dr. Wolf continues that the Biden administration, in an act that I repeatedly described in real time as juvenile, undid almost all the Trump administration policies. They refunded UNRWA and other Palestinian causes with no strings attached. Congress made it a bit more difficult, turned a cold shoulder to the Abraham Accords, for a year refusing to even call them that, and went back to a long and failed policy of indulging Palestinians and saving them from any reckoning with their past defeats and the absolute destruction that is their total ideology of no Jewish state in any borders. It is therefore also no coincidence that the Biden-Harris administration ends its term on the cusp of a regional war. And Dr. Einat Wolf has said, by the way, that if she was Prime Minister Netanyahu, when President Biden flew over to Israel after October 7th, she would have said, President Biden, thank you so much for all your support of Israel, but you said in your speech that Hamas does not represent the Palestinian cause, Palestinian people. I'm afraid to say they do, and that lies at the heart of this problem. And that's, unfortunately, the fantasy that typically the progressive side tend to indulge in more, that the Palestinian cause is genuinely about just about self-determination, that Hamas just hijacked the cause. Indulging in that fantasy is some ways what perpetuates the conflict. In some ways, that's what was perpetuated October 7th. Had Israel not disengaged from Gaza, thinking that, oh, maybe that will create a nice Palestinian state that will live alongside us, had they not done these things, you wouldn't have had created the void for Hamas. Let's just finish off what Dr. Wolf said. She says, unfortunately, even after the October 7th massacre and invasion, with all the love that President Biden personally and truly has for Israel, the policies undertaken by the administration extended the war and suffering by refusing to state that the war must end with a clear Israeli victory. Hamas Gaza surrender, full release of the hostages, and that Israel is under no obligation to supply its enemies before they surrender and release the hostages. So, as a new Trump administration is being formed, my hope for a change in the situation, even for peace, rests on the expectation that this administration will again emphasize support for Israel and Gulf countries over Iran, defund UNRWA completely, and hopefully this time will mobilize more countries to do the same, make it clear that Israel has US backing to win the war, and that Hamas Gaza is expected to surrender and release the hostages, that Israel is under no obligation to supply an enemy before it surrenders, and as it holds hostages, that Lebanon needs to make full peace with Israel rather than another worse than useless UN resolution, and that Palestinians and other Arab countries can enjoy sovereignty, peace, and prosperity when they finally understand not only that Israel is here to stay, but that the Jewish people in building their sovereign state in the land of Israel are home. And you know what, I have to say, a lot of this, what she's saying here in the final paragraph, it comes down to the principle of peace through strength. See, would Iran be attacking Israel in the way that they did with those 2 rounds of missile strikes, lobbing hundreds of missiles and drones, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles? Would they be doing that if they felt there'd be a severe American retaliation or response, or perhaps even a more severe Israeli one? It's the fact that it seemed like the Biden-Harris administration were kind of more playing like these war games where, oh, they'll do that, so we'll do that. Okay, we'll say, right, stop there, don't go anymore. You've had your thing, you have your thing. You know, it's that's not really showing a particularly strong position. The irony is, it's a bit counterintuitive, but basically, the stronger your deterrent, the higher you're prepared to sort of go in terms of saying, if you do this, we are going to really have zero tolerance. You're going to face a very, very strong retaliation. The less likely you are to have conflict. The more you say, well, we're just going to do more tit for tat, the more you're encouraging the aggressor to try and do more provocative acts. So actually saying, if you do this, we will wipe out your government, your regime. While that may sound more provocative, it's actually more likely to produce peace. This is the principle of peace through strength. And peace through strength, the only way you get that strength is by understanding the truth. And that's the point. Now, I want to go through some of your comments just to see what the feeling is, especially out there in America. We've got let's see. I wonder if there's a way for me to get this up on the screen. Let's have a look. There we go. We've got Shmuel Ben Avram saying, Am Yisrael Chai. We've got Sylvia Banks saying, this is a travesty. We've got Robbie Edwardson saying, Iran will either not strike at all or their response will be minimal after the election. We've got Bella saying, very happy for Trump and for Jewish people and hoping for the best. We've got, let's see, Oren. It is clear Benny is pleased. I think do you mean Bibi is pleased about the result? That's another thing, by the way, another part of the story I wanted to show you, just a piece of news really, is that it looks like Netanyahu has calls Donald Trump's election victory as history's greatest comeback. They've spoken on the phone. He immediately wrote to President-elect saying, congratulations on history's greatest comeback. Your historic return to the White House offers a new beginning for America and a powerful recommitment to the great alliance between Israel and America. This is a huge victory. Incoming Defense Minister Israel Katz said, together we'll strengthen the US-Israel alliance, bring back the hostages and stand firm to defeat the axis of evil led by Iran. And let's see, we've got Israeli President Isaac Herzog said Trump is a true and dear friend of Israel and a champion of peace and cooperation in our region. I look forward to working with you to strengthen the ironclad bond between our peoples, to build a future of peace and security for the Middle East, and to uphold our shared values. On behalf of the Jewish and Democratic State of Israel and all our people, I wish you much success. So there we have a lot of reaction there in Israel. Let's get a few more of your comments. So we've said, hopefully, that was Shmuel, we've had you before. We've got Jared Albert saying, lifelong Democrat voter, voted for Trump because of the anti-Semitism of the Democrat Party. What else do we have? Johanna Hicks, good evening, British Gentile here. Love all my Jewish friends and God bless Israel. Thank you so much. Let's see. Arguing, Ollie, you have really good takes. Enjoy your content. Watch you always daily. Keep going. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. It means a lot. Let's see what else we have. Nancy says, I have to say that I don't like Trump and his comments from the past and some of his recent comments, but I cannot deny that I feel a sense of safety, ironically, with him as president. I think this is what a lot of people have been feeling. A lot of people have been feeling that actually all the criticisms they may have of him put to aside, we're in very dangerous territory right now in the world. All these kind of crazy despotic rulers. Actually, there's many people who have felt that they need someone who has a little bit of that crazy feel, a bit of that, like, if you mess with me, I'm gonna retaliate 10 times harder. I think that's what a lot of people feel is needed among a Western American leader. Let's see what else we have in the comments. Israel is going to be the most popular country on the planet now. Okay. I've got a lot here. Wow. We've got Torture Gal saying, although I'm not a Trump supporter, I'm hopeful about Israel's safety now. Jeffrey says, one Jewish country and sovereignty once and for all. Abraham says, bro, what part of London do you live in? You really think I'm going to just make an announcement about where I live on YouTube? I don't think so. Probably not a wise idea for my security. Trump is unpredictable, says Oren. How do we know his past deeds will be reflected in his new term as president? Actions will speak louder than words for me. It's a comment that we're hearing from some people. They're saying, he's so unpredictable. How do we actually know that he won't just be swayed by something? Other people say, actually, no, he's a very principled guy. He showed a lot of principle, and actually look at his track record. It's not like we don't have a track record to go on. There was actually a lot of fear about how Trump was going to be vis-a-vis Jews and Israel in 2016, and many were pleasantly surprised about how he acted in those on those issues in his first term. U.S. Army military, police corps veteran, whole family is Fort Worth, Texas, celebrating Trump's landslide win. We've got, I've been a Zionist, but you have just turned your back on my country and you don't know anything about my country. I'm Jewish and you have abandoned our democracy. Why should... Seems like you've stopped here. He is a convicted criminal. Look, I'm primarily reporting on what's been happening now, and what this means vis-a-vis Israel and the Middle East. That's the primary purpose of this broadcast. Not going to get into all those issues around convicted criminal and all that. I want to be very specific on what this video is focusing on. What else do we have? Let's see. Few more comments and then we will wrap up. The USA and Israel needs to leave the United Nations, says Golden Bear. Well, maybe that's not a bad idea, and will be very interesting to see what Trump does vis-a-vis the United Nations. Got PC saying, I love your show. Greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much. And yeah, there's a lot of messages. Let's just do one or two more. Hillel Saban says, Bibi is the biggest winner here. And look, we know that Trump and Netanyahu had a good relationship. There was a bit of fallout because Trump had this narrative that the election was stolen, and Netanyahu congratulated Biden. He was upset about that. And so there's a bit of friction there, but it seems that overall they met a few months ago in Mar-a-Lago and looked like they were having very warm relations. So there's also a question around Kushner. Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, what role will he have, if any? Because he played a pivotal role in the Abraham Accords, but I know that him and his wife said that Ivanka said they're stepping out of politics after the 2020 election. So it'd be interesting to see what happens, who Trump surrounds himself with, who his advisors are. But I think also one of the key takeaways from all of this is also what this means for the Harris camp. You're seeing a rise in minorities now supporting Trump. You're seeing there was clearly a decline in support than what Biden had. What are going to be the lessons for the Democrats about how to get a majority? Because they can't just now blame the US system of voting, because Trump won the popular vote too. So there's going to be some serious introspection. Kamala was definitely seen as being more on the, if you look at the spectrum of Democratic candidates and politicians, she was seen as far more on the sort of very liberal, progressive side. And that just doesn't perform well in America. So I think there's going to certainly be some reflection and lessons. And one of the things that's also interesting is that you had many Democrats, more sort of old school Democrats, RFK and Tulsi Gabbard and others, who rallied behind Trump. Even Joe Rogan, who I didn't realize was actually a Bernie Sanders supporter years ago, now going behind Trump. It's very interesting, seeing a little bit of a realignment here. And one thing is for certain, that the next few years are going to be very, very, let's just say, not quiet. They're going to be interesting. Trump is someone who is prepared to shake things up. And that means that we're not going to be just seeing the status quo. The next few months and years are going to be, one thing's for certain, I think the word is consequential. If you've made it so far in this video, I have a request for you. JTV has been having a really big impact in spreading the truth about Israel and creating positive associations with the Jewish people, Judaism, and Israel. We've really grown a lot, particularly in the last year, and we're having a really significant impact, both for Jews and non-Jews. But I really want to take JTV to the next level so we can start to compete with the other big online media beasts that are often peddling anti-Israel content. And the way we're going to do that is to scale even faster. So I'd love to build a team where we have other presenters doing shows like me, that start doing documentaries, supplementary content, animated content, etc., etc. And to do that, I'd like to build a bit of a team. So what we're going to do is we're going to do one fundraising day, just one, where we try and build up some funding in order to fund such a team. Now, to do that, it's going to obviously require people to get involved. And I'm wondering if you would consider, if you're watching JTV content and appreciate what we do and want to help partner with us in taking this to the next level and spreading the truth farther and wider than ever before, I wonder if you'd consider partnering with us simply by running a page, a mini page on the fundraiser that we do, where you just reach out to your contacts on that day that we choose to fundraise and see if they'll all chip in. If you'd be up for doing that, of which I would be so grateful, then please click on the Google form link in the video description of this video, where you can simply just put in a few contact details. It'll be a very small commitment, as I say, literally just one day that we'll all agree upon as a collective community. But the impact is going to be so big. There's such strength in numbers. If we all pull together and do this, we can take this to the next level. And as I say, all of us can partner together in bringing and spreading the truth to the whole world. So please do consider clicking on that link, filling in the form, and I'll be in touch very soon to talk about the next steps. Small commitment, but a big impact. Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.